watched the channel for a while, you know co-op has always been my thing. It's what I grew up playing with my friends and my siblings. It's what I play with my daughter now. And it's just how I like to experience games. One of my main goals for this channel is to eventually cover every co-op game on every retro console. I want classic co-op to be the definitive place for all of this. And the Dreamcast has been on my list forever. I've played most of these games at different points in my life, but as I kept digging deeper into the console, I kept finding more and more co-op additions to add to the list. So this video is finally me putting everything together into one complete list. And hopefully I'm not missing anything. If I am, just let me know. Every co-op SEGA Dreamcast game. To keep things simple, we're going to split this up into different sections, and everything inside each section is in alphabetical order, starting with the US games. Armada. This is a top-down action RPG with some open-world space travel. This game you can play in up to 4-player co-op. It's kind of like a mix between Diablo and a shoot-'em-up. It's pretty grind-heavy, but it's definitely fun when you can play it with friends. It's one of the more unique co-op games on the system. Cannon Spike. This is an arcade-style arena top-down run-and-gun shooter by Capcom, and it features characters from various Capcom franchises. So you can be Cammy from Street Fighter, Mega Man, and you could be Arthur from Ghouls and Ghosts. This is definitely a solid game that's perfect to just pick up and play with a friend. Charge and Blast. This is kind of a Cabal shooter where basically you move left and right to avoid the enemies, and you have a little cursor that moves separately from your character, and you use that to attack the enemies. This is one of those games that I definitely didn't know about until the last few years, and it's a decent game, but the controls kind of suck, and that keeps it from being great. Confidential Mission. This one is a light gun shooter, and it's kind of Sega's answer to Time Crisis. There's a handful of light gun shooters on the Dreamcast, and this is definitely one of the better ones. Death Crimson OX. This is another light gun shooter, and it's definitely considered to be one of the worst ones on the Dreamcast. It's infamous for being janky, but still entertaining. Some of the character designs here are just weird, and the enemies are far from threatening. All that being said, I still think this one is fun to play. Dynamite Cop. This is an over-the-top 3D beat-em-up, and it's the sequel to Die Hard Arcade, which came out on the Sega Saturn. This one does a lot of things that you would expect to see on the Dreamcast. You can punch fish, you fight crabs, you can shoot missiles right into your enemies, even though they are standing a foot away from you. It just has a lot of crazy over-the-top video game shit, in the best way possible. And when it comes to 3D beat-em-ups, I think this is one of the best ones. Millennium Soldier, Expendable. This is a top-down shooter with big explosions. Feels like a lost arcade title. This is another one that is very pick up and play, perfect to play with a friend. It just looks like a 90s video game. Gauntlet Legends. This is an action RPG that you can play in 4-player co-op. I grew up playing the N64 version, but this one actually implements elements from Dark Legacy. This game can be a lot of fun with friends, especially when you're doing it with 4 players. Giga Wing. This is a bullet hell shoot 'em up. The main hook here is that you have the reflect mechanic. Everything here is very bright, very busy, but it's a lot of fun. Giga Wing 2. This one's even flashier and even more chaotic. The one step up is that you can play this one with up to 4 players. Another really solid shoot 'em up on the Sega Dreamcast. Gunbird 2 is a vertical shoot 'em up, but this one is very cartoony with anime type characters. Heavy Metal Geomatrix. This is an arena shooter with a heavy metal soundtrack. When you think of 3D Dreamcast games, this is pretty much the exact look that comes to my mind. It's primarily known as a competitive game, but you are able to play through the whole story mode with a friend. There's a lot of weapons and movement variety here. House of the Dead 2. This is honestly one of the best light gun shooters ever, and playing it with a friend is definitely the way to do it. This has some of the best cheesy voice acting of any video game, period. Definitely a Dreamcast staple. Mars Matrix, another really solid shoot 'em up. This one has a really unique charge mechanic, so that definitely adds some strategy. Co-op can definitely be intense and just demands a lot of skill, so you're going to want to find a capable partner. Midway's Greatest Arcade Hits Volume 1. This is a collection of old arcade games. The only co-op one is Joust. And then we have Midway's Greatest Arcade Hits Volume 2. This one has 2 classic arcade games that have co-op, Rampage and Gauntlet. Power Stone 2. This is a 4-player arena fighting type of game, kind of like Smash Bros, but with some 3D elements. You can play through the entire story mode with a friend, which also introduces boss fights. When it comes to multiplayer Dreamcast games, this has always been a go-to. Samba de Amigo. This is a rhythm game that you play with maracas. It's mostly known as a competitive game, but there is a co-op couples mode, where you have to try to play the game completely in sync. Kind of similar to the co-op mode in Guitar Hero or Rock Band. Sega Smash Pack. So this is just a collection of Sega Genesis games that you can play on the Sega Dreamcast. The emulation is not perfect, it actually is kind of bad, and there are much better ways to play these games. This collection includes a handful of co-op games. It has Altered Beast, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage 2, and Virtua Cop 2. Oh, and I guess Virtua Cop 2 is not a Sega Genesis game, but it was also ported to the Sega Dreamcast, but only in Japan. Anyways, this whole collection is known for its poor emulation, so there's really no reason to try it out. Honestly, just skip this one. Sonic Adventure actually has a little-known co-op mode, where if you complete a level, the second player can now take control of Tails. He's not able to do much, he can attack the enemies and stuff, but he does get left in the dust whenever Sonic moves away. Spawn in the Demon's Hand. This is another third-person arena shooter, and this one's pretty fast-paced. It's kind of similar to Heavy Metal Geomatrix, but it's just not as good. You can play through the entire story mode with a friend where you basically just team up and you go through and fight the bots. It's okay, but Heavy Metal is a lot better. Star Wars Demolition. This is kind of like Twisted Metal meets Star Wars. You can play through the whole game with a friend, but I found this game to be pretty frustrating. I didn't like the controls. Overall, there are much better vehicle combat games. Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. This game also came out on the PS1. It's basically a 3D beat 'em up, but with lightsabers. The combat here is pretty solid, but there are some platforming sections that make it kind of frustrating. Overall, this game is very difficult. I do think it's one of the better Star Wars games based off of the prequels. Street Fighter Alpha 3. So the Street Fighter games are not known to be co-op. They're usually one-on-one fighters, but this one you can actually do 2-on-1 fights. And I found that to be surprisingly fun. I'd like to see this in more fighting games, honestly. This is just House of the Dead, reimagined as like one of those educational typing games. If you have 2 of the Dreamcast keyboards, you can play this game in co-op. The best part about this game is just the fact that your characters in the game actually have keyboards in front of them, and as you type, the zombies die for some reason. Not only that, they also have a Sega Dreamcast strapped to their backs. So if you like House of the Dead and you like typing, of course you're gonna love this too. Vigilante 8 Second Offense. This is the sequel to Vigilante 8, and the first and only game to appear on Sega Dreamcast. There's new vehicles, there's new weapons, the gameplay is a little bit smoother, and it still has the co-op gameplay intact. Overall, I think this is definitely an improvement in just about every way to the predecessor. Zombie Revenge. This is like a 3D beat 'em up that also has shooting. This is another one of those games that just feels very Sega Dreamcast. It has the same kind of cheesy vibe and voice acting of House of the Dead. There's huge bosses here and just non-stop action. This is definitely one of my favorite co-op games on the system. Now we're going to talk about the Japan-only co-op games. Castle Shikigami 2. This is a stylish vertical shooter. The co-op is tight and focused. Each character has unique abilities. Overall, it has good pacing and atmosphere. Death Crimson 2. This one is a little bit better than OX, but it's still pretty wild. This one actually has a story mode where you walk around and stuff, and then it has light gun sections. I tried playing through this, but I couldn't quite get the hang of it with the language barrier. But there is an option to just play the light gun levels and nothing else. So if you want to play this with a friend, I'd recommend just skipping all that other stuff and going straight to the light gun levels. Ikaruga. This is a really great light gun shooter made by Treasure. It has this polarity mechanic, where you basically have to switch between white and black, depending on the color of the bullets coming towards you. This definitely adds a lot of strategy and almost a puzzle element to a shoot 'em up. Honestly, one of my favorite shoot 'em ups of all time. And then we have Seven Mansions, Ghastly Smile. I've talked about this so many times on the channel, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's a co-op survival horror game that only came out in Japan. Luckily, we now have a fan translation, so anyone can pick it up and play it. It's definitely a decent horror game, and from my research, it is the first co-op survival horror game ever made. Under Defeat, another shoot 'em up, but this one you're in helicopters. It has a little bit more of a modern polish to it. The lighting and explosions look awesome, and the co-op feels really good as well. This is a fan favorite for a good reason. And now we have the actual Dreamcast version of Virtua Cop 2. There's not much to say about it, it's a light gun shooter, and it's really good. Zero Gunner 2. This is another shoot 'em up, and it's one of the smoothest ones on the Dreamcast. It has this really cool rotating aiming mechanic, so you can kind of circle around your enemy in the middle. I haven't seen too many games like that. Now I want to talk about the Atomiswave games. This is basically the same hardware as the Dreamcast, but it was for the arcades. In recent years, Homebrew developers have ported every single Atomiswave game over to the SEGA Dreamcast, so you can now play these arcade titles on your home console. And there are a handful of co-op games. We have Demolition Fist. This is another 3D beat 'em up, and this one is really good. The game is just really over the top, with lots of action, with some interesting combos and special attacks. Dolphin Blue. This is kind of like Metal Slug, but underwater. When you get into the water, you ride dolphins. The game is very fast-paced, and it's one of those run-and-gun shooters that a lot of people missed. I also just love the animation and the art style here. This is an excellent game to play with a friend. Guilty Gear Isuka. This is a fighting game in the Guilty Gear series that can actually be played co-op. The one thing that stands out about this game is there are multiple planes, and you can jump back and forth between them. In this game, you team up either doing 2-on-2 or 2-on-1 fights. Knights of Valor. This is another beat 'em up, but this one is a 2D one. It has a really great art style, there's a deep combo system, and co-op really shines here. Some of the stages are pretty long, and there are branching paths, so it does provide a little bit of replayability. Metal Slug 6. If you like the Metal Slug games, I don't need to explain this to you. It's pretty much just more of the same. It has the same classic run-and-gun co-op gameplay, but this one does introduce some new mechanics. Like, for example, you can switch between weapons. Now let's look at some of the Homebrew games. I can't talk about Homebrew games without talking about Beats of Rage. It's an open source beat 'em up engine. There's hundreds of mods and infinite replayability. This is a Dreamcast community essential. Basically, different developers get together and they make their own beat 'em ups, but they use assets from other games that already exist. But there are countless beat 'em ups that were made in this engine, so it's definitely worth exploring. Ghostblade. This is a modern shoot 'em up with some really great visuals. The game is accessible, but very challenging. Even though this is an indie game, it still feels very polished. And there was an HD version that came out on modern platforms as well. Recently, the 1997 PC game Postal got ported to the Dreamcast. The gameplay here is all pretty much intact. It's an isometric top-down shooter with a lot of violence. But this version is unique because you could play it in 4-player co-op. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of this game, but playing it co-op definitely made it more interesting to me. Xeno Crisis. This is a twin-stick, top-down run-and-gun shooter. It originally came out on the Sega Genesis, but it's been ported to a number of retro consoles, the N64, the Super Nintendo, and of course the Sega Dreamcast. And this is another just excellent port. The game is really tight with some satisfying combat. Basically, if you like games like Smash TV, you're definitely going to like this one. And it has a great soundtrack. Yeah Yeah Beavis 2. So this is basically a joke that turned into a real game. It's a single screen platformer with very simple gameplay. This originally came out on the NES, but it was ported to the Dreamcast as well as some modern platforms as well. And yeah, there's not much else to say about it. It's decent. So there you go, that's every single co-op game ever made on the Sega Dreamcast. There's probably some more homebrews that I might have missed, and there's a lot more that I could cover when it comes to Beats of Rage. And if there's anything I missed from the actual official library, let me know. And I skipped the sports games intentionally because I just don't like them. That's pretty much it. I love the Dreamcast. There's some really decent co-op games here. What retro system should I cover all of the co-op games for next? And thanks for watching.